Okay, having a look at this tank, it's tripped the RCD during washing. It tipped a couple of times during cooling as well. The customer said that rear agitator's been noisy, but if you look you can see these sort of staining marks where there's water been running down. So the favourite is the seal goes on the gearbox and it fills the gearbox and then the motor up with water. We're just looking to see where the switch is to turn the power off at the moment, because that white tube there comes round and disappears through the wall, so we've got to trace that back so we can see when to turn the power off. It comes through the wall there and then goes into that cable which they've just dangled along, which is a bit... it's not how we do it. So if we turn this off, no, that must be the cooling run signal. Maybe there's another power supply coming in somewhere else. Right. Okay, so that switch there, they've just run a flex out the back of that box. She's a bit rough. But there you go. Whole installed like that. It's a shame, it's a nice tank, but it's not been put in very well. Right, let's get up on the top, see if we can find anything. Okay, you can see all the water staining where that's been leaking. So the water gets out either at the bottom, because there's a hollow paddle on this, the wash water goes down the centre of the paddle. Getting lazy in the old age. This might be full of water. No, it's quite dry. Oh well, get the wires, we'll get the mega on there and see. You've got two wires which are thermal overload, so if it gets too hot it shuts it off, and then the other two are your live and neutral. We should test this, because we should test it anyway, but we'd better test it anyway, because I don't have a lot of faith on the original installers. Looking at the way it's wired with bits of flex everywhere. Okay, we checked out voltage to earth, nothing on it, it's millivolts. Right, I keep getting asked, and I never know what model it is, but that's the mega I've got. It's a MIT 410, which I think it's quite old, so I think there's a newer version out now. Yeah, I cannot do this. Oh, good. 0.2, that's shorted. So I'm actually amazed that's running. I'm not knocking the trip out. 0.2 again. That's live and then neutral. Then we're on the thermistor wires. 0.2. 0.2. So we've tested all four terminals, they're all shorted. So what we'll do is we'll pop these wires out, test it again. If the short goes away, then it's on the wire side of the system, because we've split the fault into two. And if it's in the motor, it'll be these will test one or two of these are test shorted, and these will be okay. Or we could also have, it's rare, but we could have a fault on the motor, and we could also have something else faulty on the rest of the system, and they would both test faulty. Anyway, let's pop these wires out. Okay. Try this again, I'm not quite sure how I managed it previously. Test button. Oh, I think that's me not holding the terminal in there very well. Yeah, that's shorted. And again, that's shorted, that's the live and the neutral. Then we're on the thermistor now. Yeah, I was going to say, I wouldn't be surprised if that's not okay. Because it's just like a temperature sensor in the windings. If it gets too hot, it goes open circuit, tells the controller that one of the agitators is faulty and brings up a warning light. So those are the two that we're testing earthy, so any power you put in the motor is leaking out to the casing. I'm surprised it run, to be honest with you, that was quite bad. Let's try again. Test. Okay, and then with this it keeps the last reading until you press the button again, so it's handy if it's out of sight, you can then look at it. So yeah, that's a dead short. So if we were to test it again, it's 20 gigaohms because the connector's not touching anything, and that'll stay on the display until you press it again. Right, so we need to put these in something. Probably put them in individual Wagos, and then these two need joining together. And then it'll have to run without that motor going in. It needs a new motor, basically. I bet if we pop the top off, the whole gearbox will be full of water. Okay, so I've got the two thermistor wires joined together. That complete the circuit, and then we've got the two live and neutral individually terminated. So we'll get these poked in at the top somewhere just in case this fills up. Although it's bone dry at the moment. You probably won't get in there with it not turning. Get any water? It's not any water that leaks past. You've got a seal at the bottom of this box which seals to the shaft, and then a seal at the top of the gearbox that seals the shaft from the outside element. So the bottom seal on this must have gone, which is letting the water run down the outside, and then if you get any wear in the bearings or even the seal worn, the water can then get into the gearbox, and of course it's not just water, it's washing chemical as well. So you've got an alkaline and acid solution that will leak in there, and it very quickly rusts the bearing at the top, and then once it's rusty it moves even more and it just gets worse. I mean, they've been like it for years, 30 plus years. It's this design, it's how they do stuff, but it's not the best idea on the planet, I don't think. It's my new Packo battery screwdriver. It's a ATPA4V, I think. They do one where you get a few screwdriver bits, and another one with more of a comprehensive kit. But you can use it like a normal screwdriver, or you've got the buttons for undoing and doing up. It's got quite a bright light on there. It's just going to do up screws. You're not going to be driving wood screws into anything with it. It's quite low torque. It's about 1 Newton meter. So if you need to, you can just nip it up a bit more. I mean, it does them up tight enough for for putting these back on. And then it's got a little bung there. It just charges up with a USB. Okay, it's back on. That's your little red light there would come on if that thermal overload was open. So there's one in each agitator, and there's also one in the wash pump, I think. Or it might be an external one, like a little reset that pops out. If any of those trip, it'll bring that light on. I can't remember what it does. Whether it stops the cooling. I think it'll stop the washing, but I'm not sure if it'll stop the cooling. Anyway, so it's just working on the front one. So they'll have to wash it. It'll wash to a degree, but they'll have to wash it out with a hose, because obviously without the paddle going around, it's not going to spin and jet everywhere. It's just basically like a big dishwasher. That's my new step ladder. Little giant. it's fiberglass, so it's very well built. It's quite heavy. It's got a little bar at the bottom that when you stand on it, it clicks. So you know when you've climbed down, you know you're on the bottom step. You've got a little bit here that will go around a round pole or a corner of a wall or a batten. You've got these buttons here that lock in. Once you've popped them in, you can adjust it to the next position, and then they pop out again. So yeah, it will stand like that, and then you can pop them in again, and it'll fold right in. And then you've got a buffer there to go against the wall. Or that'll, is there buttons? I can't remember this. I think there might be buttons. Yeah, buttons either side. And then again, you've got, that'll go, if you're in a corner of the wall, those two bits will touch. And then if you're on the outside of a corner, they'll touch. So you can just pop it up against a corner or a batten. Yeah, you have to push both sides. And then that swings round. That'll pop in, and then it locks. So it's supposed to be the only step ladder that's designed. You can use it closed, like that. Yeah, that's really sturdy, so not a bad little ladder.